Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Chris checking in with another video. How are you? I hope you are doing well and off to an amazing start to your day. Today I have a very special guest, Ola.
Hey.
Yes, Ola. Well, doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, welcome to Washington, D.C.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. So Ola and I met in 2014 in Hangzhou, China when we were studying abroad. She is British, she is from the UK, born and raised in London, but she's also Nigerian. Raised in a Nigerian household, so that basically kind of shapes her world in many ways and how she interacts with the world. And when she and I met in China, I actually got to get close to Africa, the African part of my African American identity, because I was able to be fully immersed in the Black diaspora, and she was one of the members of the community that I met that made me extremely passionate about identity, multiculturalism, and traveling, and how that all plays a role. And as you all know, we're still dealing with Brexit, the consequences of Brexit, positive or negative. And so we're going to talk about identity as a Black British woman in a changing Europe. So I want to preface this video by saying this is Ola's opinion. Her opinion does not represent the United Kingdom, nor does it represent any political party, any other person of the Black diaspora, European or non-European. These are her views, and she has the spotlight today. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, let's get started with the first question. Okay, so the first question I have has, how has Brexit impacted your sense of identity as a Black British woman? Do you feel a shift in how you're perceived, both within the UK and by other Europeans?
That's a very good question. Overall, generally speaking, it was shocking. I think when we were in China, David Cameron was toying with the idea of having a referendum of, us leaving the EU. I don't think a lot of us actually thought that would even happen. We thought it was just a threat. I don't think David Cameron himself even thought that that would have happened. The whole Brexit thing actually come to fruition was a big shock for a lot of us, especially us students who were from international backgrounds, or interacting, even though we were born and raised in the UK, interacting with people from Spain, from Italy. Having that happen was like, wow. It changed the way I think about my country and how it perceives others as well. It felt like a breakaway from what should have been a very united front globally. We talk about the EU, we talk about African Union, we talk about APAC, the unions that we have, the pockets of unions that we have across the world, and it felt like the UK was trying to break away on its own, and that's what it did. In terms of my identity as a Black British person, woman, it's something I'm still sort of grappling with, if I'm honest. I think it further breaks that European identity. And I say this because already when we were in the EU, it was very much, yes, we are part of the EU, whether you're Black British, you're Indian British, whatever, you're part of the EU, you're European. Now the break away from that makes me gives the impression that, I'm not really part of that European community anymore. Yeah. If you come to the UK and you meet people from different walks of life, especially those that were born and raised in the UK, maybe they're from immigrant backgrounds like myself, and you asked us, what does it feel to be European? The UK, generally speaking, has never really felt European.
As the UK officially left the European Union, do you believe there's a redefinition or reevaluation of what it means to be British? How does this affect your personal understanding of Britishness, especially considering your Nigerian heritage and cultural background?
Has it redefined how we see ourselves as British people? Yeah. Okay. Absolutely, I'd say so. Especially more so when we leave the UK and we come back. We're having to queue in different lines now.
Like the one like I have too?
Yeah.
Okay, then
It's been a bit of a culture shock. I think a lot of people who even did vote for Brexit did not intend for such things to happen.
With Brexit came discussions about sovereignty and national identity. How do you navigate the complexities of being both British and European, like geographically, particularly in a society that's undergoing significant political and cultural changes?
I need to just ruminate on these. Okay, so, do you know, it's so interesting having to navigate these identities, right? So for me personally, it's not just that I'm British. Clearly, I'm from elsewhere as well. Putting my British hat on and, you know, my European hat on, we can't have these discussions without talking about history.
Okay.
You know, it's almost impossible. The reason why we were even in the EU is because of the war. The promise, the pledge to not have another war amongst ourselves being European, geographically speaking. Okay. It's hard to not get political, to not bring politics into the identity of being both British and European. You can't sever the two. They're not mutually exclusive. To be British is to be European. There's a shared commonality between all the countries in Europe. You want to talk about the monarchy? They have family in Germany. They have family in Spain. They have family in Austria. They have family, I don't know if it's Portugal. They have family all over. They're tied blood-wise to Europe. Literally, quite literally, you know? We can't talk about one without talking about the other. It's now, we're othered, in a sense.
The UK?
Yeah.
Like the country is othered in Europe.
I'd say so, because you speak to a lot of my friends in the UK are from everywhere in the world. And those that have come from Portugal, Italy, mainly Spain, people feeling like they're not welcome.
Or is it also maybe UK people going to like the European mainland? Do they also feel like they're unwelcome? Have you ever experienced that?
Nope.
Okay, so it's one way.
It's one way.
Okay.
No, you speak to people from the EU, and they come to the UK, and you know some of them are trying to stay. It's difficult. The UK has made it very difficult for a lot of people around the world to stay in the UK, and people from the EU as well. We've othered ourselves in that respect by making it like we're not welcoming to people.
Very interesting. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay.
You know, breaking away from the EU as Brits has made it in such a way that other people, now you ask them, this is not just what I'm saying, they don't feel welcome.
In the UK?
They don't.
Okay.
A lot of people in Brexit, when that happened, they left. They went back to their countries because it was becoming a little bit hostile. Now things I would say personally have maybe calmed down a little bit, but this is, if it hasn't, it's very unfortunate. So sorry about that, you know. If that's your continuous experience about it, it has, I can see it is a bit hostile. Like I said, we don't have these discussions, and if we do, it's maybe coming from the likes of people like Akala. He's like an inspiration for a lot of us, not just Black British people, but just British people in general. The way his mind works and connects the dots between our history and what our present day is. He'd be best to, I think if you asked him these questions, he'd be like, you know, firing it out. But these questions is heavy.
Okay. All right, guys. So this is the final question. I only created 4, right? Because Ola and I have these conversations all the time. So we're going to go ahead and go to the final one. In light of Brexit, have you noticed any changes in attitudes towards multiculturalism and diversity within the UK? How do you see these shifts impacting the broader landscape of culture exchange and integration, especially for minority communities?
Okay, so I'm going to take the first question first. In light of Brexit, have I noticed any changes in attitudes towards multiculturalism and diversity within the UK? Yes. Yes. I think maybe communities have gone, existing communities in the UK have gone maybe into themselves a bit more.
Okay. Because
we're like, if you can treat Europeans like this, what more us who are brown-skinned? Yes. You know, so yeah, people are maybe becoming a bit more insular.
Voila, I understand.
Yeah. So we still mix.
Yes.
You know, we will still all get on the tube, get on the bus. we'll still like interact with one another, but I think we have our wits about us now, especially as people from immigrant backgrounds, because we can't have this conversation without talking about Windrush as well. So when people say we can't get political, it's really hard to not get political, because that's the reality. It's intertwined with Brexit. It's intertwined with our identity, and it's very interesting that I'm being asked these questions, and we don't have these conversations on a day-to-day basis to really understand how
the emotional aspect,
how we can better the future.
Okay.
If we're not having these conversations now, it can snowball into something that we have no control over, you know? So the second part of that question is, how do I see these shifts impacting the broader landscape and culture exchange and integration, especially for communities like mine? Again, we've become a bit more insular. Okay. And some people say, not me, other people have. And guess what? They're getting second passports. And they're looking for opportunities elsewhere, because we don't know what the future holds for a lot of us. And if you can, like I keep saying, like, if you can do that, if you can treat other Europeans in that way, what more us who are from immigrant backgrounds, right? You've not only just got Brexit, you've got Windrush, you've got the Rwanda bill that's coming into effect, or has come into effect. The UK is giving off this air of don't come here, don't come here, and you know, it's wanting to separate itself not only from the EU, but it looks like wider afield as well. It's very interesting.
Well, wow, thank you so much for those beautiful responses and being open and talking to us. You know, you and I have these conversations all the time when we're on the phone. Thank you for visiting me. Honestly, you have opened my mind a lot about the UK, about your personal experience living in the UK. Again, the opinions that Ola has shared are hers alone. They do not represent anybody else but hers. Okay, so I just want to avoid people trying to say that, you represent anybody, because you don't. You represent yourself. Okay, so thank you so much for educating us on your personal perspective of what it's been like for you as a woman, as a woman of a migrant family, Nigerian woman, dealing with the consequences, both positive and negative, of Brexit. And I really appreciate you coming on my channel today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Ciao, everybody.